Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. Today's video we're doing a declutter. I'm going through all of my single highlighters at the moment. So as you can see, I have a fair amount of highlighters. This does not include any of my palettes. Those are separate, which I will also be doing a declutter. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to be able to get rid of at this particular point. I do know that there are some things that I'm definitely not using, and that's basically what I'm going to base this off of. It's stuff that's just not being used because I have other things I prefer, especially if I have things where I have multiple products that basically give the same sort of color payoff. I don't want to keep all of the same things. I do use palettes and singles, sort of interchangeably depending on, how much room I have in my bag, if I'm going traveling. So I do rotate stuff in, but there are definitely products here that aren't getting any love, and it may not be that they're bad, it just means I don't use them enough. So I want to give them a home if that's the case. Anyway, let's get started. So when I look at everything out in front of me, this is a lot of highlighter, and I don't need to be buying more highlighters, and yet that is the thing I'm always drawn to. I'm always wanting to get more of them. I think what I'm going to start with is I'm going to try to pick out first, if I were buying these again today, what would I buy immediately because they are necessary in my collection. I think first up I would go with this from Becca. This is the shade Prismatic Amethyst. This is actually one of my very favorite highlighters, just all in all. It is this really beautiful, like, subtle pinky purple shade. It looks really great on my skin tone. I'm a fairly pale person. These are going to reflect in my ring light, so very shiny. As like Liv Loves Her Makeup says, they look like little flying saucers. I do think that the packaging on them is really adorable. These are expensive, and I'm not just saying I like this one because I spent a lot of money on it. It's genuinely a highlighter that I love using, and I always get compliments when I wear it because it gives me a really beautiful glow. So this is one of my favorites. I'm definitely keeping this. Similarly, from Becca, I have the Rose Quartz shade. This was a limited edition shade that went away for a while, but then they brought it back in a palette, and then you can get it every once in a while online in like the full size. It doesn't have the lavender undertones as the Prismatic Amethyst does, but I also do really like it, and I also think it looks really nice on my particular skin tone. I do like this one. I am still going to keep this. I guess since I've started down that Becca train, I'm going to keep going on that. So over here I have a little mini size. This is one of my project pan items. This is in the shade Opal. This one has broken before and I have repressed it. It's got more of a goldish undertone to it. It's a lovely highlighter. It's just not one that I actually use very often, to be honest, because it breaks. Although I like the fact that the compacts do have a mirror. My Becca highlighters are very delicate. They are the easiest of all of my highlighters to shatter. However, I do really like Champagne Pop. I only have a mini size of Champagne Pop, and I did have a liquid version of this as well, which I don't think I have anymore, which is fine. That one is not that different, I think, to Opal, but I think it's got a little bit more like boom pow in your face kind of a situation. Like, I find it's much more visible on my skin than Opal. Opal's really subtle, and I don't tend to do subtle highlighters, so I do still want to keep Champagne Pop, especially since it's a little bitty size, and I'm not as invested in it. The rest of these Beccas are all light chaser highlighters, so they're sort of like interesting weird colors. This is Topaz Flashes Gilt. It's got sort of like a greeny undertone to it. It's not necessarily the most flattering on my skin, but I do really love it, and I also use it as an eyeshadow. So this one I do want to keep. I'm not sure I will end up keeping all of these. Champagne Dream Flashes Bellini is a really beautiful pinky highlighter, and it is very flattering on my skin. It's sort of like Rose Quartz, but a little more iridescent as opposed to shiny, so I do like that one as well. This is Opal Flashes Jade. This one is not a very good highlighter for me, to be honest. It's not very flattering on my skin tone, but it looks great as an eyeshadow, so I do use it for that. Amethyst Flashes Geode is sort of like a blush substitute for me. It's a little dark as a highlight, but it is a beautiful blush. So I really should just keep this with my blushes, so that's something I am going to do. And Rose Quartz Flashes Seashell is another beautiful pink that is not super different from regular Rose Quartz, just it has a different sort of sheen to it. But I do like this one. This was the one I was using before I was able to get the actual Rose Quartz. I feel like this is sort of a combo between Prismatic Amethyst and Rose Quartz, which I think is great. But you can definitely get that effect if you layered both of them. And this is Pearl Flashes Gold. This one is definitely a brighter, goldier shade than I generally tend to do, but I do like this one. After looking at all of these together, I know I'm keeping Opal for a project pan, but maybe I shouldn't. Because I don't care about it. I really don't. I'm only using it for the sake of the project pan, and that's kind of lame. I feel like I should use something else that I'm actually going to get some use out of. Otherwise, my Becca collection is going to stay. And since I've sort of determined that, Opal's not my jam, I've sort of wanted to take a look at some other stuff that I found that were similar. So right here we have Becca's Opal, then we have Wet n Wild Precious Petals, Wet n Wild Crown of My Canopy, Wet n Wild Golden Flower Crown, and last the Wet n Wild Highlighting Gold Bar, which is called Holly Gold Head. It's kind of crazy when I look at them this way. They're so similar it's really difficult to tell the difference, and I almost want to re-swatch it to double check that I put them in the right order, but no, I'm pretty sure that I did. And they're really the same. I don't need to keep these. I think I'm most likely to wear Precious Petals and probably Golden Flower Crown, and I think I'm gonna let go of the Gold Bar. And to be honest, because this is a lot more coppery and I think I have other coppers that I wear more often, I'm also going to get rid of Crown of My Canopy. This has nothing to do with the quality of these. I actually think Wet n Wild highlighters are amazing, but I don't really wear these two shades. So I'm going to get rid of these three, and I'm going to keep these two. And just as a quick review, here are the rest of my Wet n Wild highlighters. So here we have Blossom Glow, we have Botanic Dream, Purple Ashes, which is part of the Gothographic collection that came out earlier this year. This is Royal Calyx, and here also from the Gothographic is the White Raven shade. I really do love all of these, and I do wear them. I've worn all of them. I tend to grab out Blossom Glow probably the most often, but honestly, I think they're all really beautiful, and the quality in these is amazing, especially for the price. These generally are about $4 a piece. They're $3.99. These are all shades I am going to use, so I am going to keep these. I am curious to compare this to my Milani. This is the Hypnotic Lights highlighter in Luminous Light. I think this one is a very soft, pretty highlight. It's a good highlighter, and I do use it, and I don't worry about it like breaking on me, but it's also nothing particularly special, to be honest. I think I'm gonna let this one go. I'm gonna let this go. We're looking at the Laura Geller highlighter in the shade Diamond Dust. I picked this guy up on Amazon. It's a very pretty shimmery shade. It's not super different though from a lot of these Wet n Wilds, especially in terms of iridescence. So this is usually like, I think like a $25 highlighter, and I think I got it for 20 bucks on Amazon. I think that the Laura Geller highlighters are fine. I don't love the way they feel, and they do take some time to, you know, use a brush to get them on. I find they work better if I tap on with a finger, which is not generally how I like to do my highlighters. So this doesn't get used very often, and while it is very pretty, I don't think I need it. Next up from Hard Candy, this is relatively recent. This is the Fairy Dust highlighter. I picked this up because it was 3 colors I really liked, and I thought, yeah, I need that. To be honest, it's basically sort of like a crappier Alchemist palette knockoff. It does not stay on my face for very long, sadly. While it is pretty and it looks nice, it doesn't feel very nice either. It's kind of gritty, it's a little bit rough. I don't think this is a bad option if you know that's what's in your budget, but because I have better stuff, this is not worth keeping for me. This from Lottie London I picked up relatively recently. I have been using it. I tend to just swirl the whole thing together because it gives a really interesting greeny highlight. I don't have anything else like it. It's kind of hard to get the individual shades to come out. You're mostly just going to get the green. This is my one loose powder highlighter. This is from Wet n Wild. This is in the shade Moon Tears. My one complaint about this is it does make a bit of a mess. However, the highlighter is magnificent. It's beautiful, and I use this on my shoulders and that sort of thing. This is 8 grams of powder right here. Even if I put this on my shoulders like every day, it's barely made a dent. Like, I love this. It's great. It's the only, you know, loose powder highlighter I will keep because I don't need any more. It's a really beautiful shimmery iridescence. The quality on these is fantastic. And this is where stuff starts to get a little bit more challenging. I had kept this MAC 50th Anniversary Star Trek because I was trying to give it another chance. I had scraped off the top of this to make it more useful, and it's very pretty. It's very subtle. There's not a lot going on there. It works much better now that I have really scraped the top of it. I just don't know how much I'm going to use it. I want to compare it to something else, so hold on one second. I think, yeah, this is from ColourPop. This is the shade Spoon. I want to see how close this is. I guess Spoon is a little more champagne-y. And how close is this to Wisp? It's really another one of those like champagne-y shades that I have plenty of, so this I'm going to let go of. These are kind of similar, so I'm going to hold these for the moment. Actually, I should compare this. This is Over the Moon in my Super Shock Cheek. This one's just like a lighter, more glittery version of this from Wet n Wild, which is the Ashes shade from Wet n Wild. I do like this, but I find the squishy nature of the ColourPop stuff to be a little bit weird, and I bought these when they started carrying them at Sephora, so I'm not super into them. I think I'm gonna let this one go. Well, I'm gonna put these two in a maybe pile over to the side. We'll come back to these. So this is relatively new. This is from Milk Makeup. I bought this during the last Sephora sale. It's a beautiful purple highlighter. I think it's pretty great. It was incredibly overpriced, and I only bought it because it went on sale, and I got it for like 10 bucks, because for 10 bucks I think this is totally worth it. It's about the same kind of quality as like a Wet n Wild as far as I'm concerned, so it's definitely overpriced compared to the Wet n Wilds that I own. But again, I would not buy this full price, and I would not recommend that you do either. And this is my new Mini Alchemist from Kat Von D. Again, it's just a really nice glittery topper. I did a whole review of that. I'll post that up above. It's fine. I wouldn't recommend you buy it, but if you do, I would get it online because it's only $14 online, but it's $19 in stores, and that's silly. It's very tiny. This is not even a gram. Not even a gram of product. So it is good to put glitter on your lips in a way that is not annoying and does not like shed glitter throughout the day. So that is positive, but it doesn't really have a good, it says it's teal, but it doesn't have a teal base to it. It's really just iridescent glitter as far as I'm concerned. So I don't necessarily recommend buying this, but I am going to keep it for now. And I just want to address all of my Cover FX glitter drops and custom enhancing drops. I love the glitter drops, actually. These are the 3 glitter drops that they have available right now. They are fantastic. And although they are very expensive, if you wait and get them on sale, I think they're totally worth it if you buy them at a sale price, especially because you have so much product and a very little of this goes a long way. Like I have been using this little one, this is like a 100-point perk I think I got. Probably a 1/4 inch of this is what I've used so far, and I've been using it regularly at my work stuff because I really do enjoy the glitter. The custom enhancing drops I don't use as often, and I have this little guy in Moonlight, and this guy I'm not really using. It's just not my shade. I've just added Celestial to my project pan to take the place of something else. So I do want to continue using that because this actually was not even open. I had forgotten that I never opened it, but I do use Halo on a relatively regular basis. I do like this one a lot. It's got a really unearthly color to it. So I'm not going to keep Moonlight, and I think I've used it like once or twice. It obviously doesn't even want to stay in my hand right now. So that one's going to go, but the rest of these I am going to keep. So this from Kevyn Aucoin, this is the Contour Duo. This comes with a sculpting powder and a celestial powder in Candlelight. This is, if I'm doing a work event where I need to be really subtle, this is what I use. This is a little bit dark for me as a contouring shade, but if I blend it out, it actually looks really beautiful. This is something that only gets used for very conservative work events. I don't use it in my regular life, but I do think it's really great. So I keep this for when I can't highlight the way I would normally do, but I do like to have like a bit of a glow to my cheeks. So I bought one of these when it was on sale because my mom stole my first one, and because I really do like the highlighting powder for very specific events. So if that's what you're into, if you are looking for a highlighter that is very, very subtle, but also really great, this is a great option for you. But if you want to have a lot more shine to it, this is not going to fulfill that need for you. Getting down to the end here, we're going to take a look at my Fenty. These are Mean Money and Hustler Baby. These are really nice highlighters. They can be very subtle, or you can double them up, which I usually do. I usually use both at the same time. Looking at this makes me realize I don't need either of these. This is going to give me the same thing. These got to go. And I also have Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal, which are a little bit subtler and a little bit shinier. This is generally the one I tend to use the most often, which is Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal. But I do like Mean Money and Hustler Baby, but I wouldn't necessarily repurchase that one because it is similar to other things that I have. However, it is really, really noticeable to me that I do not need any more neutral highlighters. I have got those covered in these Fenty's, which I think are really excellent. I was looking at the Fenty stuff again on my arm, and I realized that my Wet n Wild Precious Petals is basically the same as those. So if you don't have those, you know, you can use this. It's a pretty good dupe. I'm going to keep the Fenty's. I'm going to let this Precious Petals go. And last up of the, compacts, I've got my Kat Von D. This is the Metal Crush highlighter in the shade Gold School. It's a really nice highlighter. It got a little chunky at first, but I think that was actually kind of weather-based. It hasn't given me a problem since it started to cool off, so I think it might have just been how it was shipped, that it was sort of like weird, and I wasn't really enjoying it. But I think after I took that sort of top layer off of where the product had shifted a bit, because it is a little squishy in a way because of how it's made, it works much better. It does have glitter and you will get a little bit of fallout, but as long as you don't care about that. I do like these highlighters. I think they're pretty, but I have noticed in the store that the newer shades also are pretty chunky, so it might be a similar thing for that. And I really haven't picked up those because I still have one of the palettes. I do think it's pretty. Did I need to have it? No. You can also dupe this out with the Mirage glitter drops from Cover FX, which I actually like a little bit better because once they're on your face, they don't move, whereas this does shed a little bit on the glitter side. I am going to still keep this for now because I do like the mirror of it, and I think that the compact is really cool looking, but I would not repurchase this. And then this Stila liquid highlighter in the shade Admiral. I picked this up relatively recently, so I am still going to keep it. I do like it. It's not, you know, as necessary for me as like the Glitter and Glow eyeshadow, but as a highlighter I do think that they are pretty, and they are very glittery. Hey buddy, thank you for coming to help with this declutter. And because this one also has sort of like that nice greeny undertone to it, which I do enjoy, even if it's not the most flattering, I do still want to keep this guy. And then I put all my stick highlighters on my arm already, so you can see this is the shade Unicorn from Fenty Beauty. This is Blonde. Here we have Confetti, and then we have Starstruck. Over here we have from Bite Beauty, this is Prismatic Pearl, and over here from Hourglass, this is Champagne Flash. I don't tend to use stick highlighters nearly as much as I use powder ones, but these are all really nice. But as you can see, there's definitely colors that I've already got covered. Things to dupe out, you can dupe these guys out with ColourPop. I just don't like them as much as I do in the Fenty Beauty stick form. I prefer those sticks, even though I'm not that big on stick highlighters, and I don't really buy any more now that I have these guys. This blonde is a better shade for me than, for example, the Trophy Wife shade. That was not a good shade for me, so this is why I picked a gold one up from Fenty, but I really am covered on gold. I don't need any more gold highlighters. Unicorn and Confetti are actually fairly different on the skin because Confetti has a lot of glitter in it and Unicorn is just really iridescent. So they are actually different, though they kind of don't appear super different in this particular, you know, arm waggling I'm doing. I do think that the Hourglass is a really nice quality, but those are really expensive, so the only reason I have one is because it's a baby size. I don't think I would purchase that a full size. The Bite Beauty is supposed to be sort of like multi-useful. You can put it on your lips and your eyes, that kind of stuff. I think it only really works as a highlighter. This is a mini size sample and I just don't really use it very much, so I think I'm gonna let this one go. Otherwise, since I am trying to use Starstruck as part of my project pan, and the rest of these, I forget that I have this little Hourglass one, and it's really quite lovely. Like, it's a beautiful shine, although I can get that in a powder highlighter. It's very similar, for example, to the Wet n Wild loose powder I have. It's not necessary to keep this, but I do want to try to use this a little bit more because it is really nice quality. Plus, it's super tiny and it fits in my bag, so that's a lot of payoff right there, highlighter-wise, in a very, very small package. As for the Fenty stuff, I definitely got seduced by the hype around the brand, but I actually really like the brand. I think that their highlighters are really good. I don't use these quite enough to justify buying any more, so even if they come out with new shades, I think I would just stick to these. But I do think the quality is great. It's just easy to get, you know, seduced into that sort of thing, and then I was like, I just want to collect them all, and so I just collected them over the course of a year, but I don't need to get any more. This is plenty. So on the right side, you're going to see the products I'm going to be giving up, and then the left side is everything I'm going to be keeping. My kitties come to help me do the wrap up here. So I feel like I probably could have gotten rid of a few more things, but I wanted to make sure I still had a couple of options. Plus, there's certainly stuff that are color dupes that I'm keeping in different price points so that I don't worry in case I'm traveling, in case I break something, because I'm going to break stuff. That is just something that happens. Sadly, I do occasionally break my stuff. But I feel pretty good about this, so as far as the single highlighters are concerned, I think I'm good here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, please subscribe. There's going to be more content coming up, you know, just sometimes life gets in the way of that, but I am still filming videos. It's just sometimes it's a matter of having time to edit or not, and I will still be posting. The channel's not going anywhere, so just forgive any absences. I hope you're all having a great night, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!